What's up, guys? Let's talk about supplements. And I would like to preface this video with, this is not meant to diagnose, to prescribe, to demand, to forcefully convince you of anything that you should be taking. It's just gonna scratch the surface, unpack a couple things that you could maybe consider when it comes to general supplementation. It's a hot topic. It's $1 billion industry, so it's definitely in the fitness realm. So let's chat about it, shall we? Supplements. What are we supplementing? Nutrition comes first, always. Nutrition comes first. That's where it starts. That's where it ends when it comes to your fitness goals. Eating, how you eat, what you eat, when you eat. Consider that, always. Nutrition comes first, all right? People may give supplements more credit than they deserve. I think a lot of people are looking for the best supplement that's going to help them reach their goals. Although it can help and it can supplement things, I don't know if that's ever the case, but still useful. All right. So let's get into it and let's talk about micronutrients and others. So the question that I just fielded, what's like top supplement someone should take for general health? And after thinking about it for a minute, because so many supplements are for specific things, I was like, probably just like a general multivitamin. And the reason for that is, even if we're eating well, and we're eating single ingredient foods and prioritizing good nutrition, I still think that micronutrients are probably lacking a bit. Just my theory, but based on how we mass produce so many of our whole foods still, and even if they're organic, I'm guessing that they're probably not as rich in nutrients as maybe they were, 100 years ago. So supplementing with some micronutrients to bridge the gap from maybe what we're not getting from food probably can't hurt. There's some arguments out there in different spaces that say if you're using supplements, you just had expensive pee. Perhaps, but it might be worth the shot. And micronutrients and supplements and vitamins are things that I've found helpful for me, and maybe you will too. Maybe not. So what are some of the micronutrients and others, as I mentioned, that I'll just say that the ones that I use for me personally, and again, just to maybe get you guys thinking: fish oils, or your general omegas, vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, magnesium citrate, glucosamine. I take a cranberry supplement. As a type 1 diabetic, I try to look out for, kidney and urinary tract health and things like that. Garlic, CoQ10, melatonin. Melatonin is an interesting one because, we always think, melatonin for sleep, but actually there's some interesting research about melatonin helping with some other things with liver detoxification and stuff like that. But that's just kind of a short list of some things that are kind of on my regimen for different reasons. Again, I won't dive into the deep rabbit holes of the why on all of them, but there's lots to be learned out there. And if you are going to implement any of this, I do recommend doing some research for yourself and not just taking my word for it or someone else's. Figure out what might be best for you and understand the why behind why you might be taking what you're taking, right? Electrolytes. I find these to be important. One of the questions with electrolytes is when. I think that can vary. I use electrolytes once a day typically. And if it's a non-training day, I tend to just kind of do it first thing in the morning. And even on my training days, sometimes I'll do that. But I think your two best times are either first thing in the morning, because when we wake up, we've kind of been fasted from food and water, so we wake up dehydrated, arguably. And I think pushing a liter of water with some electrolytes, I use either Element or Liquid IV. The main two that I've been using. I like Element better. But pushing some of that with some water can immediately start the uptick of appropriate hydration for your day, which can help all the other systems. And then the other time that I'll use it, if I don't do it first thing in the morning, is I'll do it intra-workout, during my workout, or post-training to, again, just make sure that I'm keeping hydration and keeping things moving in the right direction that way. So electrolytes are something to consider. When we're talking electrolytes, the sodium might be the most important one. And I think there's this thing where sodium's bad. Sodium is going to increase blood pressure I've found the opposite. When I push electrolytes and sodium, I've not seen a negative impact on that. And I think sodium is one of the ones that's most important when it comes to adequate hydration, right? But often these electrolyte drinks are removing the sodium because they're more palatable. They taste better. And when it's too salty, people don't like it. But I'm like, that's the point. So I think it's Element that says it's more salt, not less, or something like that. So I think the sodium has its place when we're considering hydration. So again, something to consider. Protein powders. This is probably like a staple, right, for most people, and it probably should be. And the reason for that is just because it's really hard to get all the protein we need just from whole foods. With that being said, I prefer that the majority of your protein intake comes from whole foods, from animal proteins, from chicken, from your egg whites, from all of that, right? But the protein can help, again, supplement, hopefully, what we're already doing with nutrition. For a guy like me to get as much protein as I need, it's really hard to get that all in just food. So it is helpful for me to implement, 2 shakes a day to hit those goals and those needs. And they're helpful in a pinch or a bind, because I'd rather do that than not eat, right? So protein powders, it's a case-by-case thing, but I have had the most luck with like a whey isolate protein. And I've even had people that have some like lactose issues and things like that, and they do okay with a whey isolate, or they do better than that, and they do with just a straight whey protein. And so if it's a cold filtrated whey isolate protein, there seems to be more tolerance and less issues with the GI system, even for me. I'm not quote unquote lactose intolerant, but I have way less GI stuff when I go with like a cold filtrated whey isolate protein. So something to consider there. Alternative ways to use it. Don't forget, it's easy to mix it in with other things. So I will add protein powder to when I make like my creamed rice. I'll add my protein to that, and then I've got my carbohydrate and my protein in that meal, right? So I'll add it to that. I'll add it to Greek yogurt. I'll add it to cottage cheese. There's all sorts of ways that you can add protein to, again, increase the protein for that meal. So powders can be used for that. We'll bake with it. We'll make these little like protein balls with oats. And so there's lots of ways you can use powders outside of the conventional, hey, I'm just going to drink a shake, right? So something to consider there. I'm not a fan of soy-based proteins. So if you are vegetarian, vegan, or a person that's trying to avoid, animal-based options, soy would not be my first stop. Soy, I think, doesn't serve a lot of people very well. There's an argument that soy will translate and convert into some estrogen. So soy, I don't think is as efficient as maybe some of your other plant-based options. So food for thought. Mass gainers. Mass gainers are for those folks that are definitely your ectomorphs, and they just, no matter what they eat, they can eat everything, all the things, all the pizza, all that, and they just can't put on weight. The mass gainers are going to be a protein-based powder, right? But they're also going to have extra calories and carbohydrates in there. And so there's some good mass gainers out there, some that are a little bit more actually whole food based. So you can look into that. If you're a hard gainer, you're like, I'm a rail, no matter what I eat, I just can't put on size. Mass gainers might be helpful for you to push those calories to where you need to be in a surplus to put on some muscle. And also, but still pushing the food. Push the food, but then maybe add that in addition might help you if you're a hard and a slow gainer. Creatine. Creatine monohydrate is probably the most researched supplement on planet Earth. I use it. I'm an advocate for it. I think people overcomplicate it like they do with everything. And, there's like, it used to be that you had to have a loading phase where you had to take double the dose or whatever for like a week, and then you'd get to your maintenance dose. I think most of that's bullshit. I think you should just take 3 to 5 grams a day. If you're a woman, take 3 grams of creatine a day. If you're a dude, take 5 grams of creatine a day. Don't overcomplicate it. When's the best time to take it? Well, it's better pre-workout. No, it's better post-workout. No, it's better right before you go to bed. No, it's better first thing. I'm like, look, the best time to take your creatine is when you'll have the highest level of compliance with it. When's the time when you will actually take it? So you can be consistent. Is that morning? Cool, do it then. Is it intra-workout? Cool, do it then. For me, I don't split too many hairs with that. So, but yeah, creatine, 3 to 5 grams a day. I think it's useful. and I don't think you need to load it. Stay hydrated, and it has other benefits outside of building muscle too. It can act as a nootropic, and it can work on some of our other systems besides just getting jacked and tanned. Amino acids. Amino acids are something, again, that I use. Some people say they're useful. Some are like, I don't know. But you've got your branch chain amino acids and you've got your essential amino acids. You could do a little research on the main difference between those, but essentially the amino acids can help us with recovery, and they can also help us in a way to avoid getting too catabolic, if you will, and avoid like muscle wasting when we're training in a fasted state. So maybe you train first thing in the morning, but you don't like to eat before you train. I think you drinking some amino acids might help connect the dots a little bit and avoid any more muscle wasting than you would ever want, right? It can be used in that setting. I usually drink mine intra-workout. And I just think one of the ways I've kind of described it at a real base level is I think amino acids can help us connect the dots between the food and the protein we're consuming, help with recovery, and again, just help us keep the muscle that we're working so hard to build as well, especially if you're in a dieting or a cutting phase. I think they do have their place. So I go back and forth, but I think essential amino acids might have more value and power than just the BCAAs. But again, you look into it, you decide what's best for you. One of the amino acids that I think gets underlooked a lot is glutamine. Glutamine is a great product, not just for muscle function like we're talking and the recovery side, but glutamine can also help with like digestion and portions of our GI system. So glutamine has some other pieces to the puzzle as well, as most of our amino acids. Peptide therapy is getting huge, and usually a lot of those are based off different chains of amino acids. So aminos have their place. I use them, but again, why not for you? Pre-workouts, man, I can take or leave these most times. Especially the young crowd, right? They're looking for the next pre-workout that's going to get them looking awesome and hitting PRs. I don't know, man. I like intermittently I'll use them, and if I do, I either use a non-stimulant or a very low stim. I don't need 300 milligrams of caffeine, and I would argue neither do you. If that's your thing, whatever. I'm not here to shame anybody. But like, I don't know, man. People come in, they're like, "Hey, man, can I get some more of that pre-work?" I'm like, dude, like, maybe you need a break. I don't know. Figure out how you feel. I don't like the high stim stuff because I don't like the way it makes me feel on a recovery standpoint between sets. If I take a high stimulant pre-workout and I'm doing like a leg day, it's like I can't ever like get on top of like my recovery between sets and get my breath back and get heart rate. I don't know. I just don't like how it makes me feel. So I listen to my body and I don't really roll with high stim pre-workout. So I either do a non-stim or a low stim. The most important thing that I find with a pre-workout, if I am going to take it, is I find value in the ingredients that help me increase blood flow and get a better POL. I like the precursors, to nitric oxide that help us get more blood to the muscle, meaning more nutrients. Again, a better pump. It's that's what I like. And I like the stimulation that those ingredients will give me in my workout and how I feel and how I perform. So I think there's probably more value there than there is on just the caffeine. There's also an argument that caffeine is a vasorestrictor, where you're also taking it with these other ingredients that are supposed to open up and kind of dilate those vessels so you can get more blood moving. So something to consider, but pre-workouts, man, I don't know, I can kind of take or leave them. You do you, but I like a low stim or a non-stim best. Fat burners. If you're going to take a fat burner, again, it's not gonna transform you if you're not eating the right kind of foods, if you're not getting into a deficit. That's how you lose weight, is you eat in a caloric deficit. So it starts with nutrition, like I said already. It starts and ends with nutrition and the training. These supplements are only supposed to supplement those things, okay? If you're going to take a fat burner, I don't like stimulant ones. I don't like to get an artificial elevated heart rate that helps me burn more calories. I would rather take one that has some natural ingredients that increase my body's metabolism and thermogenesis. Ginger, cayenne pepper, some of these other things. And there's some good products out there that I think can add to and help you facilitate some of the changes that you're working for from the nutrition and the training side. But they're not going to do it for you. You don't just eat the same way and train the same way and then lose body fat because of a supplement. They're only going to supplement the things that hopefully you're already doing right. Prohormones. Prohormones are in this category of, hey, we're trying to, again, maybe we have a precursor of something that will help boost your testosterone levels or normalize some of that. I think a lot of the things in the pro-hormone world are just trying to be what they're not. I think that some might even be harmful for you. The supplement industry, that's what's interesting about it, is a lot of it's not really approved by any entity that, checks for efficacy or like safety. Some of those organizations are hit and miss anyways, but it's just something to consider. And so if you're taking something that, there's been pro hormones that have been on the market and then removed because they're a little bit too close to, the real thing when it comes to anabolics. So, especially if there's any young kids that find this, I'm like, man, stay away from that stuff because you're implementing supplements. You're looking for the next pre-workout. You're looking for the next pro hormone that's going to boost your testosterone, and you're not even eating right. You haven't even understand how to eat appropriately for your goals. You're certainly not getting enough protein through food, and your training might suck still too, and you're not getting efficient working sets. Get the conservative things that you can control, like under your thumb first. Get your training in order. Get your nutrition in order. Then let's look at like some supplementation of like creatine, maybe a pre-workout, maybe some amino acids. But like get those two things first and then look at that. And on the pro hormones, I'm like, they're just, I don't know. Again, teach their own. Some of them people might swear by, but I just think a lot of them are trying to be what they're not. And if you're a middle-aged man, you think you've got some hormone issues, then go get your hormones checked. There's tons of, clinics that have dedicated their whole existence to this now, that have practitioners that can help guide you and do that stuff safely based on your blood work, based on your symptoms, and a little bit based on kind of like what your goals are. So I would say just do it the right way and just go get your hormones checked if you feel like you have a real hormone problem, and then let's fix the issue. So that's my little 2 cents on the pro hormone thing. I don't think the juice is probably worth the squeeze there. When it comes to supplement, guys, just a reminder, it's not the end-all, be-all. I think they can help. I think first starting with some micronutrients from what we might not be getting from food is probably a great place to start. And then for you personally, like what are some other things you need? Like, because maybe you have a little bit of a family history. You've noticed that maybe blood pressure runs just a little bit high. Or you're like in that pre-hypertensive where you're like, it's a little, I don't know, something I have to watch. Cool. Well, then let's make sure our fitness is in order. You're getting plenty of cardio. Let's make sure you're hydrated. Let's do all that. But then maybe, supplementing some garlic or some things like that have been shown to like maybe objectively tweak and help control some of those things might have interest for you. Your basic ones, your vitamin C, your zinc, your vitamin D that help us with several of the systems in the body. That would be a good place to start. And when it comes to the gym and lifting, food is king. Nothing will replace food. So stick with the food, get that in order. But then, maybe some protein, of course, because again, it's going to be hard to hit those goals all the time with just food. Maybe some creatine, but look into it. But I think less is more, as with a lot of things. So that's just a brief run through. Again, we just scratched the surface, but I hope it gives you something to think about, something to consider. And hope this helps. Build the better you.